Thank you.
You're on, ma'am.
Rename.
Okay, and we have 4 board members, so we'll go ahead and start. Dr. Garcia, you ready?
I am. Thank you,
Marvelous.
President.
We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order, the regular board meeting of the Santa Fe Public Schools Board of Education. We will start, as ever, with the Pledge of Allegiance and salute to the New Mexico flag in English and in Spanish, followed by the acknowledgement of tribal land. Anybody feeling like leading the pledge either way?
I'll do Spanish if anybody wants me to, or if they want to do it, that's fine too.
Okay.
I'm happy to do English.
All right. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Secretary Bose.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do you want me to do it, Madam President? Juro fidelidad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos.
I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Saludo la bandera del Estado de Nuevo México, el símbolo Zia de amistad perfecta entre culturas unidas.
And do you want to continue, Secretary Bose?
Absolutely. We acknowledge the original people of the land, the Tesuque Pueblo people and other tribal nations, and ask them to walk with us today as we share and learn together.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Roman numeral 2 on our agenda, introduction of interpreter. Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, Madam President. Para servicio de traducción en español, marque 701-802-5152, número de acceso 4277-932#. Por favor, mantenga su teléfono en silencio durante la traducción. Gracias.
Thank you. Moving on.
Oh, somebody pointed out the agenda wasn't approved.
Yeah.
Yes, I skipped right over that. I'm so sorry. Okay, we will now do approval of the agenda. Gosh, there's like a blank spot in my reading.
I move approval of the agenda.
Second.
Okay, Dr. Garcia, I'm guessing we didn't need any changes or anything?
No,
Okay.
ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion by Dr. Gonzalez and a second by Vice President Garcia. We'll do a roll call vote on the agenda. Vice President Garcia,
Yes, Madam Chair, Madam President.
Secretary Bose,
Yes.
Dr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
and the president votes yes. Thank you very much. And now we've introduced the interpreter, so we will move on to Roman numeral 3 on the agenda, the school board showcase. Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, Madam President. First tonight, I actually would like to turn this over to April. Where are you?
I'm here.
There you are, April. Yes, I'm very excited though about Ramirez Thomas and Jong Young Hong elementary music. So take it
Dr.
away.
Garcia, we actually had a change because of the All-State Convention last week. And so I have something extraordinary to show you. So let me get started. Here we go. Thank you guys for having us. Good evening. 32 high school students from Santa Fe Public Schools earned positions in the ensembles at the New Mexico Music All-State Conference that was held the past 2 weeks. Some highlights of the virtual experience were meeting other students in their section rehearsals, meeting and asking questions of Broadway and movie star Kristen Chenoweth, and meeting with the composers and conductors of their performances. During the week, a tenor masterclass was presented by James Flora from UNM, and Marcos Cano, senior at Santa Fe High School, was selected to sing. He sang La Colibri by Ernest Chausson. Marcos has been accepted into Lawrence University, Vanderbilt, and his top choice, Berklee School of Music in Boston. He has won a number of vocal competitions and has earned a position in Allstate all 4 years of his high school career. He also received the New Mexico Hispanic Music Award and the 15 Grandes Music Award. Please enjoy this beautiful performance by Marcos Cano at the virtual Allstate Conference. Amazing performance. We're super proud of him. And from my computer, from his computer to your computer.
That was incredible.
I just can't imagine hearing that in person, right? I mean, wow, it was just angelic. It was unbelievable.
Thank you very much for sharing that, Ms. Pickerel. That was really special.
And we'll get Ramirez Thomas next time.
Okay, excellent. And we also had Wood Gormley on the agenda. That is Meet Sora. Reading app expands access. Dr. Garcia.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. And introducing tonight's presentation is Associate Superintendent Debbie Rael.
President Noble, members of the board, Dr. Garcia, thank you for having us here this evening. I would like to introduce Dr. Laura Jeffries from Wood Gormley. And they have put together an app that will support students and families in accessing reading material. And it's been a great collaboration between our district and other entities, and they're going to talk more about that. Dr. Jeffries, are you on with us this evening?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Garcia, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you this evening and provide information on a new reading app that our students can now access. The addition of this app to our students' dashboard was a collaborative effort between Santa Fe Public Schools, the Santa Fe Public Library, and the state. This collaboration addresses a critical need during the pandemic, increasing the number of books our children can access. Our library teacher, Molly Massey, created a short video to help introduce our teachers, students, and community members to the reading app. I would like to share this short 4-minute video with you so you have insight into this new collaborative app that promises to greatly expand our students' access to reading materials. And I'll go ahead and get that ready. Okay, and okay, here is Molly.
Everyone, I wanted to take a second and show you Sora, which is an ebook platform that students now have access to through Clever. I wanted to show you so that you can see it too. I've already shown all the classes and I'll continue to work with them so they can check out books, but I thought you might be interested as well. So this is Sora. The first time you use it, you have to add your collections of books. Through Santa Fe Public Schools, we have 3 different collections we can use. So I'm going to take you through the steps in adding those collections. Alrighty, so the first time you use it, you should see a page that looks like this. If your screen doesn't say my school is Santa Fe Public Schools, hit switch schools and search for Santa Fe Public Schools. I'm going to click that button. I'm going to sign in using Santa Fe Public Schools. Here is loading the Santa Fe Public Schools. Oops, so this is my homepage on Sora. As you can see, I've got one book checked out right now. The main navigation on Sora is these little buttons along the bottom. My homepage is where I have all of my checkouts. The Explore button takes me to the different titles in the collection. So in the Santa Fe Public Schools collection, there are about 300 different titles. These are not the most popular of titles. There are some big ones in there, but on the whole, they're not super, super popular titles. But the nice thing about this collection is that all of them are multi-user access, so they should all be available at all times for anyone who wants them. So potentially, if you wanted your whole class to read the same book at the same time, this would be a collection that you could use to do that. The nice thing about Sora also is that all of these titles that we see in here are available any time of day, so students can read outside of the school day, unlike Epic. Okay, so this is the Santa Fe Public Schools collection. We also have access to titles through the Santa Fe Public Library. So I want to walk you through how to add that collection. And it's really easy. From this Explore page, I'm just going to click on where it says Santa Fe Public Schools, hit Add a Library, and we're going to search for Santa Fe Public School, or Santa Fe Public Library, sorry. I'm trying so hard not to say here, and I'm failing miserably. Santa Fe Public Library. This is my library. So there was a partnership created between the school district and the public library, which is a great thing because students don't actually have to have a public library card to access these titles. So any Santa Fe Public School student can use this collection. As you can see, there are some very popular titles in here. Unlike the school district's collection, these are not multi-user access, so students will have to place titles on hold, especially some of these popular titles like Guts and Sisters, Dogman. But there are some really great titles that I think kids will be excited to read. And placing holds is really, really easy on here. The third collection that students and you have access to also is one called New Mexico Library to Go. So we're going to add that to New Mexico. There it is. This is my library. You may notice signing in as a teacher that it's giving you adult titles too in both the Santa Fe Public Library collections and the New Mexico Library to Go collection. It is filtered, so your students will not be seeing that. I have my Sora set up, so I'm only seeing the kids' titles. But just FYI, your students will not be able to access the adult titles that you may see in there. All right, I'm going to leave it there and let you explore this. Let me know if you have any questions, and Happy New Year. Welcome to Sora. All right.
I was muted. Very cool. Thank you very much, Ms. Jeffrey, for bringing that. Do we know if students are using it?
Yes, we have students who have started using it, and it has also been really beneficial to teachers who are setting up lit circles where students are reading the same book. The Santa Fe, our library now with the multi-access, kids can be grouped together in breakout rooms and they can be discussing literature after having read the same book. So that's been another way that it's been really helpful. But thank you so much for the opportunity to speak.
Madam President, I was going to thank you, Dr. Jeffrey, great job, and for showcasing this. And I want to just make sure I'm not misspeaking here, but I believe that Associate Superintendent Romero was instrumental in getting this partnership off the ground with the Santa Fe Public Schools Library. I don't know if you want to say anything, Ms. Romero.
Oh, sure. I'm just really grateful. We have two lead librarians in our district, Kelly McCabe and Julie Nocent-Vigil. And so they provide professional development to all of our librarians and our librarian aides. And they've been working really hard since this summer with Maria Tucker with the city library. And we finally got this up and running in December, and kids and teachers have access to thousands of ebooks. So we're really excited, and we're already seeing students and teachers utilizing the text. And the neat thing is that they're current books and high level interest books for our kids. So it's super exciting. And I just want to thank the two of them because they did great work.
Wonderful. Dr. Gonzalez.
So is that going to be offered to other schools besides Wood Gormley?
It's offered to every school in the district.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the libraries are such an important piece of the schools. I know that everybody on this call, in this Zoom room, if you will, knows that, but it's been especially important as we've seen the need for greater media literacy and really understanding the access and information and difference between fact and fiction. So it's wonderful to really get robust things coming out that connect students to libraries. So this is fabulous. Thank you so much to everybody involved. Okay, moving on, and I should say I have to jump and have spoken with Vice President Garcia in a little bit after 6 o'clock. My organization that I work for in my day job, Growing Up New Mexico, is actually doing officially the relaunch as Growing Up New Mexico this evening. So I'll be leaving for a brief period between about, I don't know, 6:05 and 6:20. just to let everybody know, and Vice President Garcia is prepared to chair the meeting at that stage, and I will be back soon. But for now, I've still got time. We're moving on to the union update. Is Ms. Grace Mayer? She is here. Welcome, Ms. Mayer.
Hi. Good to
Hi.
see all of you.
Go
So there's
ahead.
a
Welcome.
so there's a few things that I'd like to discuss and talk to you about in terms of what NEA New Mexico and NEA Santa Fe are doing. I'll get started first with I'm sure the superintendent will talk to you again about our joint letter and request to prioritize our teachers for the vaccinations and sort of the process that we've been going through trying to get as many of our staff and teachers vaccinated so that we can return safely to the classroom, possibly by March or April. But I think there's a lot of hiccups happening throughout the state. There's not a lot of availability nationally. Things were not where we thought they would be. If you were listening to the news today, you heard that that process wasn't developed as fully as it had been sort of told to us. So I'm sure New Mexico is dealing with that limited amount of vaccines. Our other push was to also try to get those vaccinations done at the school sites with some of our nurses and nursing assistants who administer vaccines to students and to staff for years. Oftentimes we've received flu vaccines through our nurses for many years. And so I know that it's a difficult thing to try to figure out how to get people vaccinated, but in order for us to fully consider going back in a real, even a hybrid model, but in any way this year that's going to be effective for students in terms of teaching and learning, I think we really need that opportunity to get vaccinated. So I'm sort of making this more public to put our position in terms of NEA Santa Fe's position. We've talked to our association representatives that are elected at many of the schools. We've had several meetings with folks that returned to the hybrid model, experienced that. Some have worked fully remote, and we're also, through NEA New Mexico, put out a survey about asking questions about people's safety. We had over 3,000 respondents from throughout the state, and we'll be making that survey public in the next week or so to sort of give feedback to the PED and also local school districts and school boards about a lot of the anxiety around it, sort of the challenges, the benefits, of course, of what we believe, just as I know the superintendent has stated that the best place for our students is in the classroom with their peers and their teachers. However, we have to make sure that that's done safely. And even if and when we're vaccinated, we still will have to be having a mask mandate, having social distancing, making sure that our students are engaged in activities that will prevent the spread of COVID-19, because we don't know what the implications are on their long-term health, even if, because certainly children under 16 haven't been approved to receive a vaccination, so we don't really know how that's going to impact their health. That's our position in terms of reentry and making sure that we can do that safely. I'm sure we'll be working more closely with the superintendent when some of that rollout of the vaccine happens in the next month. There has been some concern and some anxiety around changing the platform for from one login to ClassLink, which is a change that our district is making for our teachers and our students. It's happening now. It's kind of a difficult transition, and training students, especially those students who are in the younger grade levels, is it's kind of a difficult task at this point, and a lot of our teachers are feeling really a lot of stress around that. We did receive some professional development, and I think that the teachers in the upper grades, middle school and high school, are a little more confident that the students will catch on a little faster and that they can manage it. I think it's our elementary school teachers that will probably need more support, and have expressed that they will be asking for some of that support through the digital learning coaches and the technology staff. I do want to acknowledge that it's unfortunate that last week the district reduced in force 26 employees from the nutrition department, 17 of which were in the NEA Santa Fe bargaining unit. Currently, they're employed till February 8th, and their benefits will extend a little further beyond that. But I think it's a difficult position that we've been put in because of the budget cuts and the monies that were taken from us from, I think, the state in terms of trying to solve the budget. I'm not exactly sure where we are on receiving additional resources, and now with the change on the federal level, if our district will be able to hold on to those positions in the next month, or if we're truly going to have to lay them off and then try to return them as fast as we can back into the classroom. Distributing, I think the district did everything we could to try to reorganize how to distribute the food to our community. There's been a lot of other agencies and places where parents have been able to get those kinds of resources. So I think that our district was in a difficult position. We started delivering food to people's homes directly through our bus drivers and our bus assistants. And we tried for months to keep as many people employed as we could. It's unfortunate that my biggest concern is, frankly, their health insurance and the coverage that they won't have, because we all know that COBRA through the federal government is really not an affordable option for most families when they lose their insurance. But I just wanted to tell those employees how much we appreciate their work and their dedication to our district, and we're looking to do everything we can to get them back to work and employed with us as soon as we can. And for those with students in our public schools, please reach out to our counselors and other organizations like Adelante or other places for some resources that we can assist you with. It's a very difficult position to be in for a district, and I just want those employees to know that they're valued and we care about them and their families. We also want to mention too, a few people have asked, like, well, why did we start with that particular group of employees? But that's not exactly correct. We did start eliminating positions that were vacancies in teaching positions initially, and some staff positions, as you are well aware. But even though those positions were vacant, some of those resulted in other teachers having to do combo classes or pick up other duties that would have been performed by people that in positions that were eliminated or cut due to the budget concerns. So I think that when the legislators and other people say, okay, well, you know, $7 million or $6 million, or it ended up being 8.2, I think in total for our district, you know, is kind of, well, it's due to this or due to that. It's kind of like standard for like what happened throughout other districts. It still doesn't matter because they don't understand the impact of what that means. And the impact of not having, you know, 15 teaching positions, you know, in one school could mean that there's a combo class, there's less attention to like, you know, students who are in difficult situations that may have had an instructional coach, or I'm sorry, a literacy coach or someone that was doing work that wasn't directly related to the classroom teacher's work, but certainly supporting students in various forms. And so I really believe that our legislators need to understand that, and our families, that these cuts impacted what we could even do currently, and we can't afford to have any more cuts, and that we need to be held harmless for our attendance and some of our other things in order for us to maintain programming that is going to be effective and appropriate for our students. And so we're asking them to assist us in those efforts to tell our legislators and our governor that that Santa Fe public schools took a big hit and we can't take any more at this point. And we really need you to support public schools and maintain as much of the budget as you can, and so that we can make decisions that are appropriate for our community. And that brings me to my last issue about some proposals for extended learning in 25 days for elementary and 10 for secondary. That I think it's going to be challenging. I think for our district in particular, we've put out multiple surveys for several years, and we've accumulated data from our families that for some families it's an option, and they're interested in it. But for most families, they were not interested in an extended year. We even did several surveys of 20 days, 10 days, even 5. And we found that our staff and our families were not receptive to a mandate for that, but they were receptive to having it be optional. And I think that we should maintain that. We should also ask for flexibility in those resources so that there aren't these strict requirements of teachers following certain students or other certain testing requirements that I think don't encourage families and educators to participate in the programming, because there is not the same type of sort of variety of educational opportunities that there used to be in using some of those resources. So it's going to be particularly challenging for our district to agree to such an extended calendar, and to have it start in June is also going to be probably close to impossible to get the staff like back in a place to be able to participate in a program like that fully. So I'm not really sure how we're going to manage this, because I know it's a big push, but it's also something that has to be negotiated through our agreement. Right now, we have a contract that lists how many days that we are contracted to be employed. We also, because of the amount of hours we work in a day, which we work a little bit longer than some districts, it ends up being that our instructional minutes bring us out already a week longer than some districts. And in some charter schools and other schools, they don't even work the same number of days that we do in Santa Fe Public Schools. So we've had an extended calendar, you could say, for many years. And our employees know that, and we've made that commitment to our community for a long time. But when now it's going to be an equity issue, and it's going to be about different districts are able to extend their calendar and not even work as many days as we are, and they'll get paid more. So that's going to be a challenge to sell to membership and employees. And it's also, we're going to have to talk about the fact that these extended years, it's going to take us to be to about 11 and a half months in terms of how long we're working. So we're going to have to request for more sick leave days and other things. So I don't think that this has been fully sort of thought out by the legislature. And I know that this is going to be a challenging issue for our membership, but I just wanted to bring it up now as part of the public conversation so that we can make our community aware that this is going to be discussed currently in the legislature, and that our district will be in that position to have to make some of these hard decisions and negotiate with employees and staff, but also they have to decide for themselves if they're prepared to do that in terms of sending their kids to these programs that would, it's really not even programs at this point. It's going to be, a full year of schooling. And I don't think the calendar is developed for that kind of approach, which may be an option for us, but our calendar should look completely different if we're going to go to basically a 12-month or year-round school. So I think with that, I'll just leave it for any questions or if you have me.
Thank you, Grace, for the update. This is Vice President Rudy Garcia. So does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Good. Dr. Gonzalez, go ahead.
Okay, so Vice President Garcia, members of the board, Dr. Garcia, Grace, you need to talk with Senator Stewart and give her your feedback, and I'm happy to set that up for you. We'll have office hours on Tuesday and Thursday, so we'll set up a time for you. But she needs to hear that. She needs to hear that, and that doesn't mean it'll change anything. She needs to hear that.
We have had discussions. They were provided the surveys when we talked previously. Also to Senator Worth, I reached out to him and we've discussed it. And he also received our multiple surveys that we did throughout the district when this was a consideration a few years ago. So I will try to have that discussion again, but I would hope that anyone listening or community members who have a particular position on this will also approach your representatives and talk to them about this possibility. I also want to say that, if our vaccinations do get, pushed out a little faster than we had hoped, a lot of us have lost family members to COVID or have lost, had sick friends or, and we haven't been able to travel. And so I don't think that putting this mandate of us returning to work in June, when it's possible that we could be able to travel and be with our family over the summer if we're vaccinated and things in the country sort of get to the place where traveling to visit would be appropriate and available to people. I think that we need to be able to grieve some of our losses, and getting back to work immediately is not going to allow us to do that, to be with our families if it's possible. So I just wanted to add that because that's a concern that has been coming up when I've been talking to our members and our staff that, you know, maybe even delaying some of this extended day to the next year instead of the upcoming current academic year would be an approach. Coming back a little earlier, maybe by a week, but not by 25 days.
Thank you, Madam Meeting President. This is Vice President Rudy. Dr. Gonzalez, very good comments to Grace. You know, now you need to meet with Mimi Stewart because she is the lady in charge, and if you can get in with her, and she is the person you need to talk to. And great advice from Dr. Gonzalez. Very good. And once again, I just want to let the district know, as into the PED, as into after you take the test or you come back and so on and so forth, you know, it's not up to the school district or Dr. Garcia or the Santa Fe School Board. It's up to the public education department as to how they're going to do that, what's going to happen with that. So once again, we just have to follow what the PED rules are, public education department, and move forward with that. But excellent advice from Dr. Gonzalez as in to meet with Senator Stewart. Any other questions for Grace?
Mr. Vice President?
Nope. Yes.
Yes, please. Mr. Vice President, members of the board, Dr. Garcia, I would just like to say thank you to Grace for the very thorough update. It's always important, I think, especially for the public to hear the union update, and I appreciate it as well. And definitely wanted to echo Grace's sentiments honoring the employees that we had to let go because that is an unfortunate situation, and we all hope to remedy that quickly if possible. And I did have one question, and that was, Grace, in the recent surveys that you guys have done, do you have a sense from the teachers and staff about their willingness to get the vaccine? I guess I'm curious, you know, because I work in healthcare, I'm seeing healthcare numbers about how many healthcare workers are willing to get vaccinated. And I'm curious if we have, perhaps Dr. Garcia has that information as well in a presentation, but I'm trying to get a sense of who's willing to be vaccinated from the teaching staff, because that seems to be an important piece of the puzzle. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Russick.
Oh, you know,
Madam Secretary.
I'm sorry. There was one more thing I wanted to say, that Grace has an important reminder for all of us, because the legislature is in session, that it's a wonderful time for everyone who has concerns and wants to participate to send letters, to make phone calls, that this is the time to do that, and that this all works better when we share our voices with our lawmakers. So thank you for that reminder as well, Grace.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Also, you know, we have some very important people. Dr. Gonzalez, that she's in there, and Dr. Garcia, she's been there, done that. So actually, you know, yes, please. That's how we can speak up. Let's do it and help Grace out, because the PED, we need to figure out what we're going to do. But thank you, Madam Secretary. Anybody else?
Mr. Vice President?
Yes, ma'am.
It's Dr. Monica Garcia. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Grace, for your update. I hope you can hear me. I'm getting a message that my internet connection is not stable. I'll be addressing the vaccines in my report. I do hope that you can communicate to the membership, and hopefully if any of them are listening, that we did our best, you know, and working with you, I think you're aware of it, to hold on to the employees as long as possible, and that we did cut at the district level first, which, as you indicated, did impact schools in some ways because they do support the schools. The reason the nutrition department is that it is funded completely based on reimbursement and is not funded through the operational budget. And because schools have been closed for so long, I mean, theoretically, we could have cut back last March, but we carried it. We've covered it as best we could. And, but we've run out of money because kids aren't buying lunches. And, you know, if anything changes with the CARES Act, they're first on our list to rehire. And we want to bring them back. As I said, we kept them on as long as we could. We also looked at options. Could we just keep them on, you know, for just even an hour or two and be able to provide them benefits? And we were not allowed to do that. So we looked at every angle we could and try to come up with the best solution possible. But it always hurts. And we know it's hard for them. And we want to thank you, Grace, for working with us. You know, it's not an easy thing. Regarding the class link, I'll be asking Dr. Ryan to say a few words about that and about that transition. And I'm glad you brought it up so that we can make sure that we provide extra support to our elementary teachers. And Dr. Ryan, we could do that in my update. I'll call you then.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. You know what, as you mentioned earlier, you know, the board, we talked about this and behind closed doors. And as you mentioned, you know, we tried. And as the secretary said, you know, we tried and we had to do what we had to do. But individuals need to realize that it's public education department that runs our districts. And so we have to follow whatever the governor says and PED says. So Dr. Garcia actually really tried and helped out and carried it for as long as she could. And so, but I thank you for bringing that forward, Madam Secretary, as well as Dr. Garcia. Thank you. Next is anybody else have any other questions on the union update?
Board Member Garcia, can I just respond to Board Member Bose's question about the survey?
Yes, so we don't really do this, but yes, we go ahead and do it. We'll allow you to do it.
Well, she asked me a question, but I didn't really get to respond.
I know.
Okay, the survey does ask about willingness to be vaccinated, and throughout the state, most educators are willing to be vaccinated. However, you know, their willingness to return to the classroom sort of is contingent on the vaccination, but then there's, like, you know, the booster shot after 3 weeks or 4 weeks, depending on which one. And then also maintaining all the safety procedures as well, the mandate for the mask wearing and all of that. So I also know that our nurses at individual school sites put out a district survey. So just a small, you know, are you interested if we can get it? So there's probably some data that can be given to you by the district with as the breakdown for our district in particular. We know you're a nurse, and we appreciate what you have to say on this issue. So if you would like to share with our members, you know, and the community about any concerns that you might have, we would welcome your perspective on it as a health provider.
Thank you, Union President. We can bring that up under maybe matters from the superintendent or from board members. But so just moving on, you know, as you said, you know, I'm proud of Dr. Garcia as well as you, Grace, as into being the union president. You know, we're doing a good job in Santa Fe, and so we're doing an excellent job. So moving on, so item number 5 is thank you, Grace, appreciate that. So public forum, is anybody signed up for public forum?
Thank you, Madam. I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Mr. Donarski, where are we on public forum?
Good evening, Mr. Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Garcia. There is one person signed up for public comment tonight. Rules for public forum. Please listen and speak with respect. No uncivil conduct will be permitted. Please do not discuss any specific student who is not your own. no sharing of time, self-monitor and observe the 3-minute time limit. I will give you a 30-second warning when your time is almost up. Public commentary and dialogue is allowed only during the public forum, not throughout the meeting. Please search for answers on common ground. You may speak on any topic, whether it is on the agenda or not. Your input will be taken into consideration. Please be advised that the board may discuss your issue during the meeting, but by law, the board cannot take action on items that are not on the agenda. Please do not discuss employee matters which may result in disciplinary action. Instead, notify the employee's supervisor, the Human Resources Department, or the superintendent. The public forum comment for today is from Connie Coates. And she says, my question is, will substitute teachers currently signed up with the district this school year be contacted and offered the COVID vaccine, just as permanent staff is? Subs are needed to help school run smoothly, so I hope so.
So thank you for that. Can you do that in Spanish now?
I cannot.
No, I'm just joking. So,
Okay,
Madam Superintendent, can you answer that question for the lady that's asking the question for the substitutes? Thank you.
Mr. President, we normally don't comment on public forum, but if they are employees of the district, whether you're a substitute teacher or drive a school bus or you're a custodian or you're a nurse, if you are a public school employee, when they fill out that form with the Department of Health, they are automatically prioritized.
Thank you, Superintendent, and thank you for that. And number 6 is board announcements and follow-up. The Citizens Review Committee update.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, members of the board, Dr. Garcia. For the public that was not at our study session last week, I can update that we accepted and approved the recommendations put forth by the Citizens Review Committee for the upcoming GO bond that will be voted on in June. And again, I just want to extend gratitude to all of the members of the CRC. They have a diverse background and collection of experiences that really are invaluable, and they volunteer so much time and so much hearty debate, and I have learned a lot in the last year, and I appreciate all of the hard work that they put in to making sure that our schools have what they need, and also that we are being frugal whenever possible and good stewards of the citizens tax dollars. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Very well said, because the Citizens Review Committee, that's a diverse board that they do an excellent job, and they did the presentation to us the last meeting or the study session. Great job. And ex-member Cashman, great job. She's been on there. She has a lot of knowledge. Being on the Citizens Review Committee, Price, ex-Vice President Price, and everybody that's on that board, good job, and thank you for that. And like you said, these people, they volunteer to do what is right for the community and what is right for the citizens of Santa Fe School Board. And so thank you once again, as you mentioned earlier, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Any other questions on that? Okay, thank you. Moving along. Number 7 is the superintendent announcements and follow-up. Item A.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, members of the board. I'd like to first of all ask Dr. Ryan if he can do just a very quick update. It's often been said the only one that likes change is a wet baby. Change is always difficult, but we don't initiate change just for the sake of change. And we do believe that in the long run, it's going to make things better and easier for teachers. And even for myself, I'm not looking forward to it. I've been dreading it because it starts next Monday, but I'm going to have to get up to speed on Friday, so I'm ready to log in myself. But there is support for the schools. And Dr. Ryan, can you just briefly talk about why we're doing this and the benefits and the support that will be there, particularly for our elementary teachers, since Ms. Mayer did say that they were having a little bit harder time because of their kiddos.
Yes, ma'am. And to your point, change is difficult for people, even if it's easier and better in the long run. And I also want to recognize Ms. Mayer's comments that there are some people that are having challenge, perhaps at the elementary level. And I appreciate that feedback so that we can respond, because we've had minimal feedback to the help desk regarding problems, although there have been a couple challenges. We were originally going to do this in the fall, but because of COVID and our focus on the scheduling, we put it off to this point. ClassLink is a single sign-on. So you go to one place and it signs you into all the apps or the systems that you normally use. So it identifies who you are and gives you access to those, so you don't have to sign into multiple different applications. The DLCs are providing specific training to teachers.
Please tell them who DLCs are.
The digital learning coaches that are assigned to each school are providing site-specific training to teachers. So schools by schools, they've pretty much all signed up at this point. We've trained over 530 staff up to this point. Departments also will get specific training to their department. We just did HR and had some really good feedback. We've had over 950 staff signed on. As Dr. Garcia has said, we're doing a soft launch to give people some experience with it before they have to finally cut over, which will be January 27th. We've also had 500 students that have also successfully logged in, and there are several features that are of a value, which is why we did this in the first place. One of them is this product is designed specifically for teachers. It provides a customizable interface and gives better accessibility for teachers and students. Students can see and select their own login, and there's reports that come by that allow us to see which applications our teachers or students using or not using, their frequency of those, and some reports and improved communication. It also gives us a thing called multi-factor authentication, and you've probably done this with some of your bank accounts where it verifies who you are. You have to have a password recovery thing, which will allow people to recover their password by answering questions that they put in about something that they only know. And last but not least, it's saving the district over $86,000 a year that we can now dedicate towards other instructional programs, and I'll be happy to go into greater detail later.
Thank you, Dr. Ryan. Next, I'd like to introduce our Teacher of the Month and Employee Support Professional of the Month for November and December. I know that the winners and school principals were invited. I don't know if Ms. Mayer is still on because NEA sponsors the Employee Support Professional of the Month. I'm going to start with November. And Ms. Maria Isabel Zapata is an early childhood teacher and expert in bilingual education at Cesar Chavez. Are you on? There she is. Okay. Rita Hemming, school counselor at Cesar Chavez, said, Maria Isabel Zapata literally ties herself into a pretzel to engage her students in learning. Her morning dances, songs, and stories energize and activate every child in her classroom. While Ms. Zapata ensures that learning is a positive experience for her students, she also goes above and beyond to create a sense of community, mutual respect, and accountability for the classroom culture. Students have important roles to play on their learning teams, and all are continually encouraged to work to their potential. Students who are not native Spanish or English speakers learn in a safe environment where academic risk-taking is presented as joyous and exciting. Boy, you can't beat that. If I had a student in kindergarten, I would be clamoring to have her in Ms. Zapata's class. She is an exemplary asset to our school. Congratulations. And this award, I believe, is, I don't think she's here today, but by Nusenda. And so hopefully you'll be receiving the information from Nucenta. Ms. Zapata, would you like to say anything?
Thank you so much. I feel blessed working as teacher. I'm a visiting teacher from Spain. This is my 5th year, and I feel blessed working at Santa Fe Public School and at Cesar Chavez Elementary School with my amazing administrators, my amazing colleagues, and my assistant teacher, Miss Vivian, that is my other half. I really feel blessed. I would like to stay longer, and I'm really thankful, grateful for everything. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And your assistant principal is here, Mr. Fernando Mora. And again, we're very proud of you and happy to have you be a part of a Santa Fe Public Schools family. The
just really quick, Mr. Superintendent, Mrs. Zapata, like putting yourself in the pretzel move, that's very interesting, you know. And so I don't know if you do yoga class or whatever else, but I really appreciate what you do for Cesar Chavez, and to get the award and the recognition, that's very awesome. Congratulations. Go ahead,
yes.
Superintendent.
Thank you, sir. And then our employee support professional of the month for November, and this is sponsored by NEA Santa Fe, is Elizabeth Tapia, who supports all grades with library time and teaches conversational English classes after school for newcomer students at Salazar Elementary School. Said Salazar principal Julia Scoglin, and she's here today. Liz Tapia is one of the most giving, unselfish people I have ever met. She works throughout the day helping others, supporting students, staff, and parents in every way possible. Her work ethic is exemplary and her dedication to Salazar is supreme. She loves working with students in reading groups, and she is deeply loved by her students. Newcomer students are given a sense of belonging because of her efforts to communicate and engage with them. Liz is one of those rare individuals who shines like an angel in a dark world. She is the salt of the earth. All of our lives are enriched because we have the pleasure of working with Liz. And Liz Tapia, are you here? There you are. Yay, congratulations. And Grace, I don't know if you want to say anything. And her principal is here, Ms. Coughlin. Thank you.
Yes, I just want to mention to Ms. Tapia that you had many nominations for this award, and so it's a pleasure to give it to you. You seem to have made a huge impact on the staff and students and the families at the school that you work at. And for all our educational support professionals, we know that we can't run the school without you. You know, lots of times we say, you know, the teacher is the one who makes the greatest impression on a student, but we consider all our educational support professionals teachers. So thank you for all the work that you do to support our families and our staff at the school. And you are a colleague, just as a fellow teacher of mine, and just as our bus drivers and our nutrition workers and our secretaries and our nurses. We're all educators, so we really applaud you and thanks for your work. You'll be receiving our certificate from us and also a check. And so I'll be sending that in the mail shortly. So congratulations.
Congratulations. Liz, you want to say a few words?
I just want to thank everybody. Thank you, Dr. Garcia. Thank you, members of the school board. Thank you, Ms. Joulay. I really appreciate your kind words. I just want to say that I know we face many challenges, but through those challenges come triumphs, and we see it in the eyes of our students every single day. I just adore the students at Salazar, the parents. I've taught most of our parents, and now I'm teaching their children. And I just love our Salazar community. I think my colleagues are my second family, and I really appreciate all of you. And thank you to my wonderful family for putting up with me working for all these years at Salazar at the same school. Thank you.
Congratulations, Liz.
Thank you.
And our December Teacher of the Month, again sponsored by Nucenta, is Jules Chavez. She's a 4th grade teacher at Nina Otero Community School. Are you here, Juliet? There's Trish, and where's Juliet? She on
I'm
the
here.
other-
I'm so sorry. I
There
couldn't
you
find
are.
the unmute. Oh my goodness. Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
so nice to see your face. So congratulations. And also Board President Noble is back for the record. So we're presenting the Nusenda and NEA awards for the month. We just did November, now we're doing December. So Ms. Jules Chavez is a fourth grade teacher, and she's in her third year of teaching at Nina Otero. She holds high expectations for all her students and is a master collaborator. She gently introduces new teaching methods, resources, and assessments to her fellow fourth grade colleagues and loves to exchange ideas with peers, students, and parents. One would never know that she is in the early stages of teaching because she is incredibly knowledgeable about the curriculum, online resources, and strategies. She creates fully engaging lessons while holding her students to high expectations, and she provides deliberately constructed supports to students to high expectations, and she provides deliberately constructed supports. Sorry. Ms. Chavez is a fountain of positivity, and she makes every professional learning community meeting a place to learn, share, and laugh. Her heart is as big as her smile. She loves to have fun and build strong relationships with her students. She loves to dance, and when we are on campus, you never know when her class will show up with a surprise flash mob dance. We are so grateful to have this amazing, energetic, and dedicated teacher on our Nina Otero team. Congratulations. Would you like to say anything, Juliet?
I would. I just want to say thank you for the acknowledgement, and it's such a great thing to hear. I mean, as a new teacher, it's been difficult this year, having the disconnect from the students, but I want every student to know that I would do anything for them, and I just appreciate the acknowledgement. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you.
And your principal is here to honor you as well. So congratulations. And again, thank you to Nusenda.
Thank you, Ms. Garrity.
And our and also the Nusenda winners also, I believe, receive a gift card or a check and a certificate, and so that will be coming to you. Our December employee support professional of the month is Mary Ruth Perez. Are you here, Mary Ruth? There you are. And who supports Mrs. Daniel Moller's first and second grade class at Nava. Nava principal Mark Ducharme said, Mary Ruth Bettis is not only a brilliant educational assistant, she's a valued and appreciated community member. She is a caring mother of two Nava Thunderbirds, Olivia and Evelyn, and a future Thunderbird, Roman. Bringing her on board as a Nava staff member was an easy choice. She embodies our school's core values of making every moment a teachable moment, supporting each other through challenges and looking for the positive. When visiting Mrs. Danielle Moller's first and second class, Mrs. Perez is like a co-teacher. She has an infectious smile and positive attitude that encourages students to do their best. I look forward to seeing her become a model teacher for the district and hopefully at Nava. Boy, that would be terrific. And congratulations, Ms. Mayer. Would you like to say anything?
Well, I'm so flattered to receive this award. I just started with you guys in August, and you can imagine the challenge of starting a new job and doing it from home while I have 3 other kids in school, and they're 7 and under. So it can be a little challenging, but I am so happy to have found a home at Nava. The staff there has been very welcoming, very supportive, and I feel like they are teaching me and empowering me. And I love it. I hope to continue pursuing this and moving forward, and I appreciate it so much, guys. Thank you.
That's awesome. And your principal is here to support you as well. And Ms. Mayer, would you like to say anything?
Yes, I just wanted to congratulate you, and we really appreciate our educational support professionals and all that you do to assist our students and our families. And we oftentimes depend on you as that connection with families, because you're experiencing that. I mean, you're working remotely and you're trying to educate your children at home. And for all the parents out there struggling, I'm sure you're a big support because you understand what it's like to try to work and make sure the kids are connected and on and engage with the community and their teachers. So thank you for all that you're doing, and appreciate you being new to our district and planning on a long career with us, because we really want to encourage people to work for Santa Fe Public Schools with the enthusiasm and the dedication that you've already shown. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So that's
That's great. That's actually great. Awesome job, you educators and everybody else that works for the staff. Superintendent, thank you. And I will turn it over to President Noble. She's back.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And congratulations. And thank you all for your work and for your dedication. These are incredible stories and great to see supporting principals and teachers beating the odds. We know that there are many out there doing that, and it's really great to see you.
Thank you, Madam President. And if I may, I'm going to continue with my announcements. Santa Fe Public Schools recognized by Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. All students and 2 teachers, I understand, have been invited. I hope they're here. The following Santa Fe Public School students were recognized with Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, considered among the most prestigious student recognition programs in America. The awards recognize teenagers in grades 7 through 12 with exceptional artistic and literary talent. I am honored to announce that work by the following Santa Fe Public School students. Catalina Castaneda, I don't know if you're here. She's from Aspen Community Magnet School. 2 honorable mentions in drawing and illustration. Her teacher is Alicia Hess. Ashlyn de Herrera, I don't know if Ashlyn is here. She's from Milagro Middle School, honorable mention, drawing and illustration. Teacher is Joselle Bautista. Willa Heil, Mandela International Magnet School, 2 golden keys in comic art, 6 golden keys in digital art, silver key in digital art, and 2 honorable mentions in digital art. She had a bunch of teachers. Kelly Ryder is here. Are you one of the teachers? So congratulations, that's awesome. These are really amazing awards. And, we just, like I said, I've said this on the radio and to other people. Oh, and there's Joselle, congratulations. So, it's just been amazing, to have, people receiving this level of recognition. And our art coordinator, Dr. Gonzalez is here as well. And then last but not least is Wahiha Young Bear, Aspen Community Magnet School. She received a golden key in drawing and illustration. Again, Alicia Hess is the teacher. And golden key is the highest level of achievement in New Mexico. Gold key in drawing and gold key is, these artworks will advance for consideration at the national level. So congratulations, students and teachers. Ms. Gonzalez, would you just like to say a few words? Oh, there's Alicia Hess. I know I'm kind of like trying to find everybody. Congratulations. This is really awesome.
We're a little slow to join here, but thank you, Dr. Garcia and members of the board, for just giving us an opportunity to recognize the teachers and the students. As Dr. Garcia mentioned, the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, they're the longest running and most prestigious recognition program in the country for creative teens. So artists that you've heard of, for example, Andy Warhol, he was a Scholastic winner. Ken Burns, the filmmaker, Robert Redford, the filmmaker, Joyce Carol Oates, the novelist. So really, it's a very prestigious award, and we're delighted to have Santa Fe Public Schools students recognized this year. Thank you.
Isn't that something? And we're going to make sure we get this word out, Cody, on Facebook, Mr. Donarski, on social media. People need to know of the amazing talent and the amazing teachers that we have that are inspiring our students and taking them to these great heights. Yay, I couldn't be prouder. I'd like to give a brief update on employee vaccinations. and is our lead nurse, Anita Het. There she is. Thank you, Anita. I also want to take a moment to recognize Anita, for the board. She has carried a heavy load this year, and just very happy. We've gotten to work much closer than she probably ever wanted to. We're in communication all the time. We did start our vaccination clinic this week. We're pretty much limited to the number of vaccinations we get. Our partner right now is Albertsons, but we do have some questions and some concerns and some updates. My biggest one is that we have the certification for a certain level of pharmacy. I don't know exactly what Ms. Het knows what it is. And I've been pushing and asking, why can't our nurses vaccinate? Because we vaccinate students all the time. We also give flu shots. And so we don't know, why we have to just depend on Albertsons for that purpose. But Anita, we heard some discouraging news today that vaccinations were halted at Bernalillo and at Rio Rancho Public Schools. And Ms. Het just informed me that we have been halted also in being allowed to give vaccinations. And so, Ms. Het, would you please give the latest update on what you know and what we're hoping can change?
Sure. Madam President, Vice President Garcia, Dr. Garcia, and members of the board. First, I'd like to start with the success that we did have with our clinic on Tuesday. We were able to vaccinate 100 of our staff during that one, which is not much, but it's a start. We did survey school staff and district employees, as Grace had mentioned earlier, and we did receive 1,374 responses of people that do want the vaccine. That's out of 1,419 employees, I understand. So we did get a really good return rate in terms of who wants the vaccine. So that was really good news. And then we did schedule the clinic for next Wednesday. And unfortunately, we did find out today that clinic has been canceled. What I understand is that because of the problem between supply and demand, when they opened up the phase 1B, which includes, anyone working in the educational sector, it also included other phases. And what I understand from the news anyway is that the people age 75 and over, as well as individuals that have chronic medical conditions over the age of 16, take priority over school staff. And because of the shortage of vaccine, right now they have halted the school clinics. And so we're still up there on 1B, but we have to wait our turn before we can get our school staff vaccinated. So that was a bit of a disappointment. But we did learn that we have staff interested, and everyone that's interested in receiving the vaccine has been directed to the Department of Health website to register to receive the vaccine. And so we will be ready to hit the ground running again as soon as the vaccine becomes available and we are put on the priority list after people that are 75 and older and have chronic medical conditions are able to receive their vaccines.
Anita, just to clarify though, my understanding is you did hear from our contact at DOH, from Ms. Downey, that it wasn't that we heard it on the news. You were told officially that we cannot give vaccines next week, right?
I didn't hear that from the school health advocate. I heard it from Albertsons Pharmacy. They called and told me they had to cancel the clinic.
Yeah, so
I
so
was
it's not just that we heard it on the news. They're not coming to give vaccines. We're still advocating, though, that we be allowed to administer the vaccines, and so that we can be given more, given the vaccines, because we do have what kind of classification of pharmacy?
It's a Class D pharmacy license. It's in the process of being renewed, but we do have a Class D pharmacy, which we have been using as a vaccines for children provider for years, and we have over the years administered flu vaccine to staff. And I'm hoping that we might be able, once the supply gets greater, that we would be able to have some for our pharmacy and be able to distribute it to our staff ourselves, because we have school nurses that are just ready and waiting to be able to vaccinate school staff.
And it is frustrating, Madam President, members of the board, when we hear that, whole private school staffs have been vaccinated. And I get it that they have smaller numbers of employees. While we don't have 2,000 FTEs, we have 2,000 employees. And we recognize that it is a burden for Albertsons to devote all their vaccines and their time to us, that at 100 a day, and if we're not doing it every day, it's going to take a long time to get us our school vaccinated, our employees vaccinated. So we're going to keep pushing to be allowed to vaccinate. And we don't know the rhyme and reason how, what the difference is. I guess an educator is an educator, but I don't know if the public ed department or the my understanding, this is a new order from the governor, is what you had mentioned to me, Ms. Het, right?
That's what I understand. I have not seen anything in writing, but that's what I understand.
So we did send information out about vaccines. You'll be hearing in a little bit about Santa Fe Public Schools bulletin that will be going out at a minimum once a week, probably twice a week, of a news blast, just giving updates on vaccinations and reentry and other items. Are there any questions for Ms. Het or myself on vaccinations before I move on to the next thing on my announcements?
Madam Mrs. Superintendent, I'll turn it over to Kate Noble, our president, so she's back. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Dr. Garcia or Ms. Het? I want to echo the thanks, Ms. Het, for all your work. And I know you've been in a really uncertain world that's been very demanding. And to you and all of the nursing staff, I don't know that we can say thank you enough. But thank you. Big thank you. Huge thank you. And I would just say I participated in Mayor Weber's, he's got what he calls a community task force every 2 weeks on this. And what we just heard did not become clear on that call, but the call to action was the same for people to register, to be ready, to be responsive. And there was also, I want to communicate a lot of appreciation for everything the Santa Fe Public Schools has done around this, particularly for the Santa Fe High School site that's been used for vaccination. And I promised that I would bring the message to you, Dr. Garcia, and everyone who's been involved as to how smoothly that has gone. There were numerous reports about how great things have been working, and just a lot of appreciation for that. And I asked and expressed some of the frustrations of what I've heard around what's going on with some of the private schools, that we need the public school teachers and staff to be a priority. There was a representative from the Department of Health on the call, and he seemed to recognize that, and again, just said anything that the Santa Fe Public Schools can do to get everybody to sign up through the Department of Health website is what they're asking. And they're really hoping that with the new administration in Washington and lots of things getting unstuck, that this will come soon. And I know that means more hard work for Ms. Het and Dr. Garcia and everybody involved. But, fingers crossed, we have a light at the end of the tunnel, and we hope that your hard work will soon pay off.
I do want to mention something that all employees, just like everyone in our state, have to register with the Department of Health. You don't just register with us. You have to register with the Department of Health. Not all of our employees will be vaccinated at the Santa Fe Public Schools. They may be sent to other clinics. They may even be sent to the clinic at Santa Fe High. That's not technically ours, right? Because our clinic is really at being handled at Ortiz right now. And so it is those with underlying health conditions who are employees who are prioritized. They may be called to go somewhere else. They may not be a part of our clinic. However, Ms. Het and I have discussed it, that those employees who are higher in priority would be prioritized when we do be given our allocation for vaccination. So those people will be prioritized either by the Department of Health for other clinics or within our own clinic. Okay, because we do have to follow those guidelines. Thank you, Ms. Het. In terms of reentry, part of my hesitation in putting out information about reentry is that it is confusing. It's confusing to us. And you try to come up with a way to really explain this, where it makes sense, because people see all kinds of things going on around the state. And it's like, well, why are they open? And why isn't this other school open and whatnot? And we are going to do our best to clarify this in a bulletin that we hope to launch either Friday or Monday. It is a bulletin that will be electronic. We are asking our schools to get it out on their Facebook pages to their parents directly. We will be doing it via the website. It's for internal and external stakeholders. All our partners will get it, and it will be very present on the website and on social media. But regarding reentry, if a district opened in hybrid, and we opened in voluntary hybrid before this last closure, you are eligible to open whether you're in red or not. However, districts that weren't open, like Albuquerque, they can't open in red. However, everybody can open in red, K-12, in a 1 to 5 for kids in self-contained special ed classes, okay, and K-3. And so it's not the same criteria for everyone. We had determined that we were going to open just in hybrid, voluntary. That presented another set of problems for some schools. For some schools, voluntary worked great. But for others, because let's say you didn't have teachers who volunteered to teach the special classes, then it created supervision problems for those that were there in person. So, it's very nuanced. The new toolkit for secondary is out. We were expecting more specific guidance about secondary, but anything that was there is stuff that we had already planned for. The idea of just teaching one class for 2 or 3 weeks and then another class for 2 or 3 weeks so kids wouldn't have to change classes. The notification for that came too late that we couldn't do it. And it's sort of a moot point because they haven't given the okay for secondary. So this convoluted, complex thing that I said, we're going to try to make it simple in the communication. Our first goal is to get everybody vaccinated. And as Ms. Mayer said, we would have to still follow the same protocols as we all have been made aware that we have to wear masks, socially distance, keep all the things in place that we currently have. We believe the best place for kids to be is in school, and we will do everything we can to bring them back as soon as possible. Ms. Bose brought to my attention from one of her constituents concern about, well, why are we bringing kids at the high school back for class pictures? As we know, senior pictures, class pictures, especially at the high school level, are very important to families. The PED has allowed class pictures under a very strict protocol. I think you only bring in a couple at a time. They have to socially distance. They have to have an appointment, and they're there for a brief time for their pictures. Anytime we have kids on campus, like for testing, we've had some for PSAT and whatnot, or SAT, it's following the PED guidelines and has to be very controlled and very structured. We want to bring kids back. Please tell your constituents that we think the best place for them to be is in school. But we have to be safe about it, and we want to move as quickly as we can. First big step, anybody that can help us advocate, let's open up the vaccinations. Let's allow our nurses to give them so that we can get our kids back to school sooner than later. We will be issuing a new bulletin. It's not a newsletter, but it's a bulletin with key pieces of information. And don't forget the green button on reentry on our website. We do our best to keep that updated as new information is made available. Lastly, grade level assessments. We have done formative assessments at the beginning of the year to see where our students were at. We did them at the middle of the year to see where they're at. Dr. Sarangarm has done a deep analysis of that and provided that to schools so that in February, they will be ready for parent-teacher conferences so that parents know where their kids are at, even though we didn't do the summative assessment at the end of the year. We'll be highlighting student performance by focusing on proficiency and growth, and our commitment to students to support their acquisition of appropriate grade level skills and concepts and provide opportunities for acceleration. I'm asking Dr. Sarangarm to put together a high-level presentation for us as an overview of where we are as a district. We're not going to be providing it by school site because these assessments aren't meant to be used that way, but just a sense of, are our kids making progress? Because we don't want people to assume that we're not keeping tabs on it because we're not doing the annual assessments. There was just a meeting yesterday that staff attended with the PED on plans for assessment for the end of the school year. They have a work group going. We'll be bringing a recommendation to me soon, and I will update you on that as soon as the information is made available. And that concludes my reports, Madam President and members of the board.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. As ever, a dense bunch of information there, so much of it really important. Any questions for Dr. Garcia at this stage? Okay, thank you very much. And I just want to appreciate the bulletin that's coming and that we are always working on continual process improvement for everything. And right now we just can't communicate enough. And that seems like a great way to do more communicating because everybody is stretched and tired. Pandemic fatigue is real, and finding information sometimes is just something that many of us can't even handle. So I appreciate the efforts to keep communicating effectively with the school community.
Thank you, Madam President.
Okay. Moving on to Roman numeral 8 on our agenda, and it's presentations. We start with something that apparently both Dr. Garcia and I thought we put on the agenda. So we'll just say we both really were excited to have this presentation come to the meeting tonight. And it is Black Story, Black Song, a history through the African American lens. And I'm very pleased to welcome Rashad Ahmad and Nikisha Breeze on this project. Rashad, are you starting off tonight?
Yes, Nikisha is somewhere close by though. So, hey Nikisha. Hi everyone. Thanks for having me here. This is like one of my first board meetings. I've been with, my son is actually in the First Serve program and we've been there a couple times, but we've dodged in and out. So I just wanted to say, first off, just as a parent, thank y'all so much for all this work y'all do. Wow, this is really beautiful. So I'm an artist, I'm a DJ, it's my records, I'm an MC, I'm a community worker. I do a lot of work with I do an annual back to school drive. I mentor kids in the schools. I run workshops with youth in Santa Fe. But I am a dad of 2 boys that are in the Santa Fe School District. My youngest went from Tesuque to Milagro to Santa Fe High, where he's a 10th grader now. And my oldest went from Tesuque to Monte del Sol, and he's at the master's program. He's a senior this year. I'm also the one of the founding members of Earthseed Black Arts Alliance, which was founded over the summer after all the protests this summer, just kind of as a need to see each other in this city as Black artists and Black educators and Black people. There's been a real kind of narrative that there is no Black people in Santa Fe or New Mexico for that reason. And, you know, that kind of invisibility really can hurt. And so we really just wanted to come together and try to, you know, not only see each other, but do more things in our community to be seen and to be represented. And so this project, Black Story, Black Song, History Through the African-American Lens, is kind of one of the things that we've started to do, which is a curriculum that is designed for middle and high school students. It's a 30 to 45-minute video featuring 8 Black educational presenters, all local folks from Taos, Santa Fe, and Albuquerque, presenting on 8 different subjects, as well as a teacher packet that lives online with 8 lesson plans, so you can deep dive into what's being covered. The subjects are science, poetry, civil rights, literature, African ancestry, hip hop, New Mexico history, and art. And so, you know, every presenter has 5 minutes or around 5 minutes to speak on their topic. And then online lives a deeper dive with links, and I'll show you some examples of that soon, but like links and a little lesson plan. And so this will be available for free to all teachers in New Mexico and beyond. It'll live on our website as well as YouTube, and just accessible to anybody who needs it. Yeah, but let me also want to introduce Nikisha Breeze, who's also my co-conspirator on this project.
Thank you, Rashawn, and thank you, Madam President, and the rest of the board. Dr. Garcia, thank you for having us here. Yeah, I too am a parent of two young boys that started off their early schools at Enos Garcia, and now we live in Taos, and we've been through Taos Public Schools. My oldest son is graduating, and I'm also a teacher and educator up in Taos. For the last 5 years, I've worked teaching in the STEM department at Taos Academy. I also work with multiple nonprofits in Taos, working with education and underrepresented youth, particularly Wiseful, New Mexico, who I've worked with for the last 20 years, almost 15 years, and Penasco Theater Collective up in the northern part. So really, you know, trying to find myself engaged as much as I can with our youth and with the width and breadth of education that we can continue to give to our students across the state. Earthseed Black Arts Alliance, Rashawn, myself, and our other co-collaborator, Tigre, as Rashawn was saying, really formed this to be able to bring greater representation, not only to Black artists and educators and scholars and people in New Mexico, but also to do programs like we're initiating now, which is to really begin to shift the narratives that we're often fed, and not even fed, but often, you know, the narratives that our society is really based around. You know, when we talk about Black history, most of us probably in this room had a very limited scope of Black history that was taught to us in school. You know, you're taught about slavery, you're taught about, you know, if it's a great school, you're maybe taught about, you know, Reconstruction and Jim Crow, you know, you touch on that, you know, and then civil rights, and you learn about Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King, and that's the unit, and it's done. We're looking for something much more expansive, to point out and bring out other Black, there's so many incredibly significant and important Black folks throughout this history of this country that we want to highlight. So the educators that we've brought into this project are all working, you know, individually within the subject matter that Rashawn said, you know, bringing in narratives, stories, peoples that we don't know, that we as adults and most likely our kids don't know about. Black scientists that have, you know, revolutionized the field. New Mexico Black history. a lot of people don't really think about how and when did Black folks come to New Mexico. And interestingly enough, you know, New Mexico is the first place that was colonized, you know, from Mexico by Black people that were enslaved by the Spanish. And, you know, there's all these incredible stories that our students, you know, would, I think, benefit greatly in their further engagement with the rest of the world and the larger world conversations that are happening. So this is our foundation of the work that we're trying to do in this program. So thank you for giving us a place to begin to talk about it. Rashawn, I'll let you, go back into our document here.
Did you want to read this, Nikisha?
Sure, I'll read the second half, our vision, and I kind of just spoke it, but I'll read it because it sometimes is nice also to just have the language. With the creation of a Black-led, art-centric interactive presentation, Earthseed seeks to equip New Mexico schools with a program that will evolve students' understanding of the political, historical, and artistic contributions of African Americans, not just by looking at the past, but also the vibrant present and future. Using different forms of storytelling, contemporary Black New Mexican artists will showcase many lesser-known stories of the Black experience and civil rights movement. The presentation will emphasize Black American pioneers in science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics, as well as visionaries in hip hop and spoken word. This relevant art-centered approach will not only evolve students' historical knowledge, it will inspire on a visceral level a deeper understanding of the African American experience. By telling the stories of marginalized people, building bridges, and bringing arts education to schools that may have limited arts programming, Earthseed seeks to help young people develop a worldview rooted in equity, compassion, and understanding. Earthseed is in a unique position to offer a high quality, involving learning experience with Black story, Black song. Instead of solely relying on the traditional Black History Month curriculum of the past, Earthseed can offer a dynamic participatory event that is perfectly suited for the virtual times we're living in. In this passionate, electrified performance, Black arts, history, and social justice movements are lifted from the history books and brought to life in bold, unforgettable color. The program further engages students through a variety of audience participation opportunities, including call and response exercises and on request live Zoom question and answer sessions with the artists and creators of the project. In addition, teachers and educators will be given full access to classroom activity and lesson plans, ongoing curriculum ideas, and further resources on Black American contributions and significant individuals. These classroom toolkits will be publicly available through our website and suitable for all ages of students.
Yes. And I just want to give you a quick just look at what it kind of looks like. This is one of our teachers, Miles Tokenot, who's teaching civil rights. And so this is kind of each presenter will have one of these filled out. They'll have a materials list, a lesson description, some opening vocabulary, some guiding questions. That's in each of these is like 5 minutes, 25 minutes. Just some questions that may engage the students. A little bit of inspiration, right? And then it proceeds to an activity that you could or couldn't do. Let's take 25 minutes, right? And then a debrief and further resources. So we have some graphic novels here, some civil rights websites, and some of these go even further. We have links to YouTube videos and the like. And also just want to show real quick what the, I don't have the video finished yet. We're actually in the editing phase of the video, but I did want to show you I have a screenshot of what it looks like, what the video looks like. Here go our beautiful presenters who are presenting on all the subjects. Nikisha is actually presenting New Mexico history, and she's actually a descendant of Black in New Mexico too. So these are her ancestors who she's sitting by, who are some early settlers in New Mexico of poetry, and so yeah. So this is what we're presenting to the schools, and we've been talking to last night we spoke to the board in Taos, and we're talking to different schools and boards and principals around the state. Just trying to get this to as many people as possible. And Dr. Garcia and her leadership team has been really, really wonderfully supportive of this project. And also James Lujan, thank you so much just for all the support. And I think we we have a great momentum to move forward. But I did want to thank both Kate and Dr. Garcia for having us present tonight, just so we could share what we're trying to do. Yeah, and lastly, I actually wanted to bring this up too. I'm not sure if the school board has a resolution for Black History Month. I don't know if that's something that exists, and if it doesn't exist, I'd really like to. I know you can't do it in this because it's not on the agenda, but I'd really love to bring that up and see if that's something that can exist. I think it could be really important and just a great step in moving forward for us being seen. Yeah.
Madam President, members of the board, I think we do, but we'll check. If we don't, then it's been something that's been sorely missing, and we probably should have the Equity and Diversity Council work on that as soon as possible. We also, I believe, asked you to be a member of the Equity and Diversity Council, right?
Yes.
It's my understanding. And so we're looking forward in your participation in that. We think you'll bring a lot to it. And we're very excited about this curriculum. Ms. Sink and her team have an opportunity to look at it. And we're just really pleased. It was really funny because I thought this was coming from us. Ms. Noble had put it on herself, and it was like we both were thinking in the same vein that we thought this was a great thing to do. And so happy to have you here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. To appreciate you all, the work you do. I don't know if you have any questions. I don't know if there's a time period, but.
Any questions, comments from the board? I want to.
Madam President.
Oh, yes, go ahead, Secretary Bose.
Members of the board, Dr. Garcia, I just wanted to say thank you so much. I was so excited when you shared this, Madam President, on Facebook, and so excited to read about it. And I saw when they started the collective last summer, and I just, having grown up here in Santa Fe, I think it's incredible to have there be more visibility about this important part of our really diverse culture here. And so kudos for seeing the need and stepping up, which is what we're all called to do. And it will be wonderful, wonderful for our community to have this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Gonzalez.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Garcia, thank you so much. This is sorely needed, I really think. I'm not sure. I went to school a long time ago, and I think I just had a cursory idea of what was going on as far as Black history or anything. But I've since learned a lot more about the history of African Americans in New Mexico. There was a town, Blackdom. I'm sure you know about that. And even down in Las Cruces, when I was down in Las Cruces, there was a town, Vado, which was also, and I think it was probably the African Americans that came up from Mexico to populate that area. But anyway, this is very important information, and I hope that it's a successful rollout here. So thank you very much for bringing it to us.
Thank you.
Ms. Breeze, were you going to say something?
I was just saying, yes, my family actually are some of those settlers in Blackdom, in 1839. So we have been here. I have long, very, very deep roots here in New Mexico. So that Blackdom was our little town. And many of them moved actually into Vado and into Roswell after. And so I still have family down in Roswell now. So yeah, long history. And it is, I think your cursory education you got so many years ago, and like myself, is the same one that is in our schools, which is, and I see it because I'm in class with my, freshmen, and we're doing US history, and it's a very, very skinny chapter, and it's the same one I got. So this is a very unmet need. Thank you.
Madam President, members of the board, what's frightening to me is that around the country, it's pulled out of textbooks, and some of the major textbook companies, very cursory view or pull out whole sections. And, we had that problem in the last administration on end of course exams where, Rosa Parks was taken out of the end of course exam. And we all know that what's taught, what's tested is what's taught. And there were other pieces like that that were pulled out of the end of course exams that we spoke out against. So it's very critical. You know, I don't think that, and I've said this before, that students can really reach their full potential until they really know who they are and to be proud of their culture and who they are. And many of us grew up, you know, in school. Well, there's not too many of us left because we're getting old. You know, I'm talking about myself here, you know, that our culture was not validated whatsoever until we got to college, if you were lucky, you know, to have that. And how can you really reach your full potential and feel good about yourself as a human being if your culture and who you are is not validated? And it's so, so important. So thank you for this work. That's the kind of work that I say is legacy work. And you should be very proud of giving this gift to our state. Thank you.
And that's also just want to mention, like, this is year one. Like, this is the beginning of a long process, and a process that may even go on other months. We definitely see the opportunity to present for Black History Month because it's a thing, but we understand that this is American history and world history, and it benefits Black folks, but it benefits us all, right? To know our collective history. So yeah, we're excited about it.
Dr. Gonzalez.
Well, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Garcia, I think I was just thinking about and I can't remember exactly what it's called, but I think it's a curriculum that was developed by the New York Times called 1691 or something like that. And then Trump wanted to get rid of it, and he put out his own, which was 1776, that totally eliminates any of the slavery stuff or any, but anyway, that's ancient history.
Well, and I won't repeat what my fellow board members and Dr. Garcia have said, though I agree with the importance of this, the gap that's being filled. I am so excited that it's just the beginning. And the need is so big. I feel so grateful to have this now, partly because of what Dr. Garcia mentioned, as we've seen all of this weirdness at the national level, to have this coming in such a grassroots local way, to have it be grounded in, I think, what, you know, is what we need more of in education, but really that local relevance, to have, you know, these conversations and to be able to recognize Black history in New Mexico. I didn't know that, Nikisha, about your family, and that is, you know, amazing. And I've read about Blackdom. And most of all, I just want to thank both of you for your work. It's one of the things that is so amazing about the Santa Fe Public Schools, that we do have folks like you who, you know, when I first moved back to Santa Fe, I was on the board of Wise Fool, which was when I first encountered Nikisha's work. Before I even spoke directly with Rashawn, I've been admiring his work from afar for a good long while now. And this is what we have. We have community gems and incredible work that's being done. And it is my hope that this becomes a model for other things where we can ground it in relevance, in community, and in the conversations that we need to have, especially as we push for greater depth with racial and social equity work with our children, because that's who will make a difference and can change the world. And I know you're both inspired by your children, as so many of us are inspired by our kids and what we see. And, you know, you don't have to do this, but you've done it, and it will make a big difference for our community. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for this work, and keep going and let us know what you need. And I would say, Dr. Garcia, you know, I'm glad Rashawn mentioned the Black History Month resolution, and it would be great to look into that. And if we have one, wonderful, let's reaffirm it and adjust it as we need with the lens that we have today. And, we just have to keep pushing to do better on this racial and social equity, and we're all a part of it. And this is inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President.
Go ahead, Vice President Garcia.
Really quick, I just would thank Mrs. Mason, who actually was a African-American teacher. She used to drive a purple car, and she used to live there in the Our Freer Village. And Mrs. Mason used to teach at Our Freer School. And I remember Mrs. Mason was a lady that actually taught Our Freer School. Later, African-American, and back in the days when I was when my hair was black. And so I I'd like to thank the individuals that brought this forward. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would
be remiss not to recognize the role of Board Member Price, who unfortunately is not with us tonight, but I know she would appreciate that. I'm sorry, Rashawn, did you want to say?
I just want to say thank you. We really appreciate the good words and the support. It really means a lot. Yeah, we're doing this and pushing it out to a lot of folks, but it's really nice to kind of be recognized and supported by, by our local community and our school boards. So.
Ms. Sink.
Thank you, President Noble. Mr. Ahmad, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Linda Sink. I'm Deputy Superintendent for Teaching and Learning, and I'm the one that left the message on your phone. And I'll enjoy working with you, both of you, Nikisha. And we have a lot of opportunity to bring more enriched curriculum into our classroom. And I'm sure our students will benefit from this. So we'll talk more, probably. You said the curriculum wouldn't be ready till the 1st of February, I believe, all of it.
We're going to get it done before then, so we can get it to you to review.
All right, that's fantastic. So we'll talk more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President, thank you, Ms. Sink. Madam President, one more thing I want to say. While I do appreciate Black History Month, I come from the school of thought that multicultural education should not be limited to the month, and that it should be incorporated throughout the year and be fundamental. I think we do have special celebrations, right, for Black History Month and Indigenous people and so on. But I do think that we don't want to have like this token month and then that's it and we've focused on it, that it needs to be integral and a part of the curriculum. And I think that's going to be our challenge as we work with our partners and other curricular materials to weave it in throughout the year so that it's part of, appropriate for each grade level as we move through, right? So that it's just part of our history and is incorporated all the way through. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but it's just something I had to say.
It's important as ever. You know this quite well. Okay, well, thanks again, Rashawn Ahmad, Nikisha Breeze. Appreciate you. Okay, so much inspiring stuff tonight. This is wonderful. Moving on our presentations, we are now at our second presentation tonight, item 8B on the agenda, the Zuni Public School District et al. Versus the State of New Mexico Capital Outlay Litigation Update. Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, Madam President. As you just stated, item B, our General Counsel, Josh Granado, will be making this presentation this evening. Mr. Granado.
Good evening, Board President Noble, board members, Dr. Garcia. Dr. Garcia asked me to give you guys a quick update regarding a fairly significant case that was just decided in the 11th Judicial District, which is where Gallup is. This case has been around for quite a while, and as of late, it's managed to kind of fly under the radar. Yazzie Martinez decision is getting quite a lot of press, but nevertheless, this case started in 1998, and the Zuni School District brought suit against the state of New Mexico under the same provision of the Constitution as the Yazzie Martinez lawsuit. And the Zuni School District argued that the state of New Mexico was failing to live up to the Constitution in that the way that capital outlay, the funding of buildings, the building of schools, is unconstitutional. They argue that the way in which school buildings are provided to school districts isn't uniform and isn't adequate. At the time of the litigation, by and large, localities provided for the schools. And so Santa Fe would tax their citizens, and the people who live in Santa Fe would foot the bill for all of the schools within Santa Fe. This is problematic in districts such as Gallup-McKinley, Zuni, and Grants-Cibola, and some others, where there's a fairly large portion of the land that simply cannot be taxed. For example, Zuni is on a reservation, and so 100% of the land is untaxable. And so the people who live in Zuni cannot tax themselves to raise money. And so Zuni had to put out their hand and ask the state of New Mexico to provide for them to build schools. And this led to a great disparity between the schools in that part of the state compared to wealthier school districts such as Albuquerque, Santa Fe, and others. In any event, the case went forward back in 1998, and the court ruled against the state of New Mexico and found that it was unconstitutional. The state, by and large, agreed and decided that they needed to do a lot of work and change the way that schools were funded in New Mexico. And the state did so for a number of years and developed a new taxing scheme and allowed for the state to provide for schools. The state went back and went through a correction phase where the state poured a lot of money into that area of the state to make those facilities better. I mean, they were really bad at that point in time. And so a number of years passed, a lot of legislation went through, and for a while the case was dormant. The case was reopened though in around 2016, and the Gallup-McKinley, Grants-Cibola, and Zuni filed a new complaint and basically alleged that the funding scheme for capital outlay was still unconstitutional, despite all the changes that had been made by the legislature in the state. And this, just to give you full disclosure, I actually represented the state in this second phase of litigation and was in Gallup for a number of weeks litigating the case. Ultimately, in the second round of litigation, the judge recently decided that the funding for capital outlay is still unconstitutional. The plaintiffs in that case basically argue that despite the fact that the state has developed adequacy standards, by the fact that those school districts simply cannot build much above adequacy, whereas Santa Fe can, Albuquerque can, and other school districts can kind of bypass the whole state funding scheme and allow for the taxes that are raised to build schools that are significantly above adequacy, whereas the plaintiff school districts cannot do so. They're simply stuck at the level that the state deems is adequate. In any event, the judge found that the funding of capital outlay is not uniform and is not adequate. And so that's the judge's decision. So now with the Yazzie Martinez case and this Zuni case, the whole entire funding of both capital and operational funds in the state of New Mexico is currently unconstitutional. Procedurally, the state has 30 days from the order in which to appeal the decision. When I was working on the case, it was fully anticipated that the state would lose at the district court level and they would appeal to the Court of Appeals. And so the state has until the end of this month, roughly, in order to appeal this case. I'm not aware of, I checked online to see if they had done so, and they haven't done so yet, but I fully anticipate the case being appealed and that it's going to be going through the appellate courts. It's really a question of law as to what the meaning of the Constitution is in terms of what is uniform and what is adequate. The appeals court would then look at what happened at the district court to determine if the judge made the correct decision. And so that's kind of what's going on right now. I do not think that the legislature is going to be able to address this, given the fact that we're in a pandemic and there's quite a lot going on. But nevertheless, it's something that the legislature is keenly aware of, the governor's aware of, and it's something that's going to be addressed. I imagine that the legislature is going to address the issues that the plaintiffs have raised, and they have been for the past 20 some odd years. One of the big issues is impact aid, which is in the news quite a bit. And Gallup McKinley, for instance, they receive millions and millions of dollars in impact aid, which is credited against the SEG, just as the CARES Act money was credited against the SEG. And so we actually didn't realize that money. The same thing's happening in Gallup McKinley, for instance, with a lot more money. And so I just wanted to give you an update that this case is out there. If you hear about the Zuni litigation, this is what it's about. It's about capital outlay. I do not think it's going to have a direct impact on our district right now, but going forward, we'll have to just kind of see what the legislature does and also what the state does. Just wanted to give you a quick update.
Thank you very much. Dr. Garcia, did you want to add something?
Madam President, I just had a question, members of the board. I had a question for our general counsel. You don't think it'll have that a decision would be made that it would have an impact on our GO bond and HB 33 election?
Board President Noble, board members, Dr. Garcia, I do not think so. I asked the question when I spoke with some of the attorneys at the Attorney General's office when the decision first came down. I think everybody's kind of asking that same question. But in the order that the judge issued, it doesn't prohibit going forward with GO bond and other bond elections. The judge is simply ordering the legislature to address what he considers to be an unconstitutional funding regime for capital A.
Thank you.
Are there questions from the board?
Madam President, this is Rudy.
Go ahead.
I appreciate what our legal counsel has presented to us. I went for a ride this weekend to Zia and Hemis, and I had no cell service there, and it was kind of sad to realize that people in Hemis and Zia in these rural areas, they have no cell service. I was thinking to myself, how are these kids actually getting on the internet? I don't know, but I understand the whole capital outlay stuff, and I appreciate the update from Josh. But it's kind of like it's something that our state legislators need to look at, because there's a lot of rural areas out there that Chimayo, up north, Medinales, Zia, Hemis, that there's no internet out there. And so I appreciate Josh bringing this informational thing forward to us. But in the larger picture of it, our state legislature needs to realize, we're in the Southwest. We have a lot of rural areas. But thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Josh. And one thing is, Dr. Gonzalez, Grace, she has the inside to that palace there. And Dr. Gonzalez, you know how it works. And so somebody wants to tap you, they should do that, because that's where it's at. Because Senator Stewart is an education lady, and she gets it. She understands that. So thank you, Madam President.
Dr. Gonzalez.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Garcia, she does have a bill that's looking at that whole impact aid, and I need to really get to understand it a little better because it's very confusing.
Okay, any other questions, comments from the board? Thank you very much, Mr. Granado. It's very helpful to understand that better.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to, we're so good at my numbers. Yes, 9, the action items, which tonight is our consent agenda. Is there anything that board members want to consider separately and pull off of the consent agenda before we vote on the bulk of it?
Madam President, if nobody has any questions, I'd like to make approval for the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you, Vice.
I will second that.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. I think Dr. Gonzalez beat you to it, Secretary Bose. So we have a motion by Vice President Garcia, a second by Dr. Gonzalez. One thing I just want to point out, because sometimes it's always nice to pull up cool stuff that's on the consent agenda, is we're going to do solar at Kearney, which is one of the contracts being approved. And it's just always great to see more renewable energy, more saving the earth and utility bills in the district and in our future. So that's pretty cool. Okay, if there's no further discussion, we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Vice President Garcia on the consent
Yes,
agenda.
yes.
Thank you. Secretary Bose,
Yes.
Dr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
and the president votes yes. We have passed the consent agenda. Thank you very
Madam
much.
President and the board.
Moving on to item 10, board discussion and possible action. Anything anybody wants to say here? I do have something that, and I will of course be in touch with Dr. Garcia and Ms. Bahar. I was contacted by some folks, and I think they've been talking with Carl Morano at Santa Fe High and Coach Zach Cole. And the suggestion was that we consider naming the court in the Toby Roybal Gymnasium at Santa Fe High. So not renaming the gymnasium, but naming the court after J.B. White, whom of course we lost tragically to violence this past incredibly difficult year. And I know the board has a very clear policy as to how naming of physical assets in the district goes. So just to say to board members, I will ask that this be put on for board discussion next week, so we can talk about it and look at the policy as to how things get named, but also just to make everybody aware that there's some work been going on in the community to name it the J.B. White Court in the Toby Roybal Memorial Gymnasium, and we can talk about that next time. Okay, if there are no other items to go on board discussion for the next meeting, of course now is not.
Madam
Yes.
President, I appreciate you bringing up the whole name change, because Toby Roybal did a lot for this community, and he was an elected official and he did a lot of stuff, but it'd be interesting to bring this forward. And I understand Mr. JB, the young gentleman, I understand it, but it'll be interesting to bring this forward, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll talk more about that.
Madam President?
Yes, go ahead, Secretary Bose.
I just wanted to mention that I was recently contacted by some families at El Dorado, which is one of my schools that I represent, about the possibility of participating in a town hall that they're having. And I think the superintendent's bulletin update will help alleviate that. But what they were expressing at the last PTA meeting that happened in January was just kind of increased stress levels because they don't know what's going on. there aren't a lot of updates. And what we're all feeling, which is these rules keep changing, and how are we supposed to know what's going to happen, when's going to happen, what do we have to do to make it happen, those kinds of things. So I, of course, said that I would participate in that, but I also kind of wanted to put it out there for a larger possible discussion if we should consider doing what we did at the end of last summer for school reentry kind of thing, just kind of touching back in with our communities if they felt like they needed that additional opportunity to voice and have a more back and forth dialogue than what we can have here at our public meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. And we can talk about putting that as an agenda item so the board can discuss it. I would welcome it. I think it's great to talk more about what we can do, how we can continue to update, communicate, and relieve those stress levels, which are very, very real. And people are so hungry for information. So maybe we can talk about that more. Thank you. Okay, moving on then to advanced planning. We have a tentative executive session and regular meeting on February 4th. Dr. Garcia, any updates to that or changes that you see to our advanced planning calendar?
Madam President, as it stands right now, no. I have been in contact with our interim our CFO, Robert Martinez, about the study session for finance on February 11th. And I'm not certain if we will have it or not. As I told you, we found that there's no legal requirement to have it. What we're waiting really is to know. I don't know that we're going to have any new information than the last time that we presented to you, and can incorporate it in a board meeting if we do. So much will depend on what the legislature does. So at this point, let's hold off, and on February 4th, I will inform you if I believe we're going to need the meeting on the 11th.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. And we do have an audit committee on the 11th again. How I've missed that committee. Anything else on advanced planning? Okay, well, thank you all very much. An information-packed meeting, lots to celebrate, and a few things to be frustrated by. As ever, thank you all for your work, and we will be back together again for a full board meeting in 2 weeks. We are adjourned. Thanks very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.